video. Hey guys, welcome to the woods. Well, I got some nice trees and it gave me a big overhead canopy of shade. Birds chirping. You know, what more do you want? It's worth the price of admission, as I always say. But really these non-windy days, I'm not near any water today, but that's the best time to be on the waterfront. You can get some real nice views and, you know, anyway, coming your way soon. All right, so I had to look this statistic up because I feel like as I peer into people's, when people want to open up, I'm always there for them. I don't push religion. I don't push, not really a big religion person, period, anyway, but spirituality. I don't really like to even push to start these conversations because I know I never stop them. So, but from this vantage point, I feel like if somebody's going to open up, be real, be vulnerable, be whatever, I'm going to always meet them right where they are and maybe even add a little something to it. And they open up more, I'll add something else. They want to open up more, I'll add something more. They want to open up more, I'll add something more. So I'm always willing to meet people. So I probably get real and deep with people more than the average person. But I really try to keep myself from pushing it on anybody. It's a tricky thing. I don't have some need to sell some concept to somebody. But I do feel like, especially now, there's just so many people struggling in their own head. It's not even, I don't see nearly as many people struggling actually, like I need to go get them some food. There are some of those people, and I've upped my giving to the people, you know? But I feel like really my people that I'm around with, that I care about, my, you know, extended family, friends group, there's a lot of struggling right here. Which is what I feel like coronavirus came here to give us. It's like, let's work on who we are and what we think about ourselves. Let's all have a seat. And I loved the concept, but you know, things are stewing up a little bit more, and we talked about all that yesterday, and I think it's a good thing. And I know that change is coming from my own spiritual path and all the time I've spent, you know, sort of listening to, you know, remember back in the early 80s, I really got into the New Age stuff, and there was all kinds of channels and psychics coming out then, and books being written about, you know, life from the other side and what the collective consciousness and all types of interesting things. And I read them all, and I was in a group where we met every week and went through all types of stuff, you know. Anyway, so I'm all in on that kind of stuff. And then I just, you know, kind of had my kids. I'd go back to sort of structured religion and raise my kids. And then I sort of said, you know, it got to be too much judgment and too much rules and what was acceptable and what wasn't. And I don't want anybody to be falling on the wrong side. And I always had a slightly different, much more open view of judgment anyway. So anyway, so I moved away from that. Now I'm kind of back to, I don't know what paradigm I'm in. I just call it spirituality. But I really feel like there was a point where I'm like, you know, I want to really sort of double down and see if I can't be help to other people in some way. But I'm also, you know, being a business owner, I'm always like, what's the maximum result for the minimum output of energy on my side? And this has been, these daily videos have been sort of all encompassing, and they sort of just fell on me. But prior to that, I was really set on, I'm just going to keep working on my connection to God's source, and my connection of feeling the perfection of who I am, and my sorting through all my past and all these, you know, tangled webs of things I used to believe, or things that I've heard or things that society wants to tell me is the case. And I'm like, that doesn't really fit with how I see things. How could everyone in society, or so many people, feel it's this when I feel it's that? And so those kind of struggles, I'm like, I'm just gonna work on my own game. And if I'm gonna be help to other people, I'm always there for people if they need me, and I'm always, you know, giving as much as anybody. But I thought if I'm gonna really have any real impact on somebody, I need to sort of work on who I am. Anyway, that's been my game up to, you know, for the last couple years, and really much more so even the last year. And then now, you know, we're all deeper in it now. But so I was doing a little research, and I'm like, how many people really in our country believe in hell? And it was like 60 some percent, 70 some percent, and this is all religions, this is just population. And 70 some percent, believe in heaven. So it's like 60 some to 70 some. It's like, well, how can you have heaven if you don't, somehow you're going to see who goes to heaven then, It's like, well, who doesn't? Then what's called that hell? So I'm going to say it's like, 70 some percent really is a lot of people. So I thought, let's chew on that a minute and feel like, all right, so here's my paradigm on that. Heaven is right here, or hell is right here, right now. How do you judge yourself? How do I judge myself? You're like, for what? Well, we all have things in our past that we, that are still straggling along behind us. We're dragging them with us. And we have to sort of come to a reconcile of that. It's like, well, what do you think about that? So I chewed on my stuff. I've done a lot of things that I'm not proud of. And I always played with that, forgiveness thing. And I realized a long time ago, if you got a God who's all conditional, unconditional love, not all conditional, unconditional love, and all knowing and all powerful, and created this universe and all that kind of stuff, he can't be looking down on me and saying, I had expectations of you that you didn't meet. How can that be? How can that make any sense? Why would he? Well, what would the point be? To say, told you so, told you weren't going to be a good person, now you're going to get it. So anyway, much like, living today, I'm awake, and then tonight I'll go to sleep. I don't know what's going to happen when I go to sleep. I don't know what it's like to go to sleep. I can't explain sleep. But I do know that if I'm happy and loving and at peace and calm with my life today, my dreams will be better. And it's kind of why I'm not really sleeping very well now, because it's a little tricky during the day. So I think you could blow that up and be like, that's life. Where do you see yourself on that paradigm of loved or not loved? Do you need to be straightened out? Do you need to be, fix something? You need to go check in at church more, sign that book more often, or I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to get into all the millions of ways that we all put in our heads of things that we need to do to be worthy of some blissful existence after death. So in my mind, it happens right here, right now. The degree to which I love and accept myself now is the degree to which I will love and accept myself on the other side. And is there a judgment in that? Sure, I'm judging myself. Is there hell in that? Sure, if I judge myself poorly, it's a hell of a life to live in. I've definitely had a lot of deep conversations with people who have done, a lot of, in my automotive world, automotive and construction, two worlds I work in, there's a lot of people who really have, I don't know, a dark sense of themselves, a lot of things they did in their past that they really don't feel good about themselves for, and they beat themselves up, and I've seen so many of them. So I guess that's a group that I have a lot of feeling for. It's like, how do I, so I don't need to forgive them. God certainly doesn't need to forgive them. They need to forgive themselves. We need to forgive ourselves for the things that we've done. That's why I say loving on yourself. Loving on yourself, give yourself a break, give yourself a hug. That's why I also like to talk about that 24,000 years of the planet going around the galaxy. And that the point that was interesting of it is they were saying that our known history of man, that time period that we really do know about history, not what we think we've made out of the story of bones and whatever of people from, 5,000 years ago and more, but from the history that we've got some written word about and things like that. That history is a really low point for the planet Earth going around the galaxy. The vibration is very, I'll call it cold, but it's very low, and it's very, if you could imagine, it's sort of like, okay, that's winter time, it's frozen. There's not a lot of tuned in, tapped in, turned on, not a lot of love, not a lot of vibrancy, not a lot of of sensing God amongst us and all that type of stuff. It was a tough time. But we're heading into a higher vibration where we're more connected. And I've told that story so many times. But I think it's important to kind of integrate the fact that we're living in a tough world. This isn't an easy game. Nobody's expecting you to be perfect. You can't expect yourself to be perfect. You've got to give yourself a break and realize that we're all doing the best we can. If we could do better, we would do better. No one wouldn't do better if they could. Everyone's doing the best they can. Now you might say, well, some people's best they can is really high flying, and some people's best they can is really despicable. Well, I say that paradigm of whether you're able to be a very loving, giving soul, or a very needy, angry, biting others type of soul, is totally regulated by what do you think about yourself. The people who are biters are not feeling good about themselves. Nobody's cruel, mean, selfish, self-centered, egotistical, all those kind of things without an inner dislike for themselves. And nobody is giving, loving, accepting, nurturing, helpful, and doesn't have a good sense of themselves. So if you want to call these people heavenly and these people hellish, what's the difference between the two? Your perception of yourself. Down here, people, they don't like themselves. And they don't ever say they don't like themselves. In fact, they seem so egotistical. They seem like they just love themselves. All they do is talk about how great they are. You're shit, I'm the bomb. That's not a loving person's comment. Truly loving people are giving and empathetic and all those positive things. The positive things you want to see out of your fellow man are found by love and acceptance. But love and acceptance has to start from yourself. So, religions and Jesus and God have always been like, it's not them that need the forgiveness. They don't need to, you're not asking them to forgive, for them to forgive you. You're asking for forgiveness for yourself. You don't need to ask for forgiveness of yourself. Only one person can give it to you. If you're going to have a judgment at the end, it's like, well, you're going to sort of do what I'm asking you to do right now. Sit down with yourself and don't go like, well, all right, let me think if I can can I think of anything I've done wrong? No, just appreciate yourself, just love on yourself, and some stuff will come to the surface. When you're feeling strong and loving on yourself, then that inner child will bring out its struggles. I really feel bad about this. I really feel bad about that. Oh, well, that inner child is not going to bring that out if I'm not patient and relaxed and have already said a lot of nice things about myself. They're like, oh, that Dan's mind is in a very loving mood right now. It's a good time for my inner child to bring out something that he doesn't feel good about. I wonder what's going to happen when, and what's going to be, that inner child has a lot of insecurities. And that's why this whole concept of talking about religion is so hush-hush. Nobody wants to really open up, because that means that inner child has to expose itself, and they're not ready for that. You got to be in a really safe environment. So create that safe environment for yourself. Slow down. Lower your expectations of who you need to be. And doing is not part of it. Earning somebody else's respect, following some rules, take all that out of the game. The sun's coming on me now. I'm gonna start cooking in a minute. Here we go. I'm gonna curl up into the shade, me and the phone. All right, so final points. I've said this early on, I was really on this point, but to be tuned in, tapped in, turned on, you want to connect to the God source. You want your soul to radiate its love out from your every cell. You've got to invite some acceptance and some peace and some love for yourself. It's got to be for yourself. Your outward expression of love comes from your inward sense of love. And there's nothing, the planet's not damaged by anything we've done or anything we ever said. And there's no rule book. We're going to be checking off to see if you answered the right questions to all these, you know, what different religions said you needed to answer. It's just you and you. Now, that doesn't mean on a lonely way you're all by yourself, but if you want to have happy dreams in your next land, you want to create a place and a relationship and a loving spot, then be in one now. You want to have happy dreams tonight? Have a happy day today. You want to have a happy life and a happy afterlife? Love on yourself. Let your inner child out. Lower your expectations and give yourself a break and realize that we are on a tough trajectory on the planet, and no one did a great job. So it probably doesn't really bother you guys, but I'm looking at myself, and so I just see this bright white. Anyway, we're at wrap-up point, so what difference does it make? So hopefully that made sense. I really, I don't know. There's just a sense of a lot of sadness. Sadness is turning to anger. I'm okay with that. We talked about that yesterday. Sadness needs to be expressed. My inner child is going to get angry. I'm like, welcome to the table. Let's talk about it. Let's love on ourselves. But anyway, so throw some love bombs on yourself, and when you're feeling more love and you're having a good day, say something nice to someone else. Do something nice for someone else. Throw love bombs. And if someone throws one to you, you always have to throw one back a little bit bigger. So that's the way the love bomb goes. You got to throw it back if you get one. So anyway, I love you guys, and you know, I hope that was helpful. And we'll talk tomorrow.